A piercing scream tore through the chilly night, a desperate plea from a 12-year-old girl clutching only an old flashlight. "Stop hurting him," she cried, her small hand trembling. That single, brave act saved a man she didn't even know, a man who, as it turned out, was a millionaire. Sofia Alvarez, a wisp of a girl at just 12 years old, pulled her thin hoodie tight against the biting autumn dusk. Her mother had pressed a small flashlight into her hand, a meager supper of soup still settling in her stomach. Tonight, Sofia was on a mission. Mrs. Hilda, who ran the corner store 5 blocks away, had promised them some unsold bread. Without it, there'd be nothing fresh in the morning. Lucia, her mother, was hesitant to let Sofia out after dark, her voice laced with worry as she called out, "Be careful, Mika," before locking the door behind her daughter. Sofia moved swiftly under the flickering streetlights, hugging the main thoroughfare, the familiar sounds of her neighborhood offering a fragile comfort as darkness deepened. Suddenly, a muffled cry from a nearby side street froze her. Her heart hammered as she turned towards the sound, a heavy thump, a low moan of pain from a narrow alley. Someone was in trouble. Her mother's warnings to stick to the main streets echoed in her mind, yet the raw cry for help tugged at her. There was no one else around. What she was about to witness would forever change her life. Gripping her flashlight, Sofia crept towards the alley's entrance. In the weak glow, she saw a large man in a dark jacket standing over another who lay crumpled on the ground, desperately trying to shield himself from a brutal kick to the ribs. Fear seized Sofia, but a surge of anger propelled her forward. She couldn't just stand by. Taking a deep breath, she stepped into the alley. "Hey, leave him alone," she shouted, trying to sound braver than she felt. The assailant's head snapped up. In the dim light, she caught a glimpse of a scowling face beneath a knit cap. "Get out of here, kid," he snarled, lunging toward her. Sofia's heart pounded, but she held her ground. She flicked on the flashlight, aiming the blinding beam directly into his face. He flinched, momentarily stunned. "Help, someone, help!" Sofia screamed at the top of her lungs, praying someone would hear. For a crucial moment, the attacker hesitated, blinking against the glare. Distant voices rose in confusion. Those teenagers on the stoop had heard her. He cursed, eyes darting from Sofia to the street. "This isn't over," he growled, then turned and vanished into the deeper shadows of the alley. Sofia stood trembling, barely believing he'd fled. As soon as he was gone, she rushed to the man on the ground. He was older, perhaps in his late 50s, impeccably dressed in a now rumpled suit. A gash bled on his forehead, his face contorted in agony. Sir, can you hear me?" Sofia knelt, her voice shaking. She gently touched his shoulder. His pale blue eyes fluttered open, unfocused. "Thank you," he whispered. "Please don't move, I'm getting help," Sofia said, trying to sound calm, remembering the basic first aid lessons from school. Keep him talking, keep him awake. Footsteps skidded to a halt behind her. 2 teenagers arrived, breathless. One immediately pulled out his phone. "I'm calling 911. He stammered, his voice laced with adrenaline. The other girl, in bright pink sneakers, dropped to her knees opposite Sofia, eyes wide with fear. The situation was dire, but help was finally on its way. The sirens wailed, echoing off the brick walls as an ambulance screeched to a halt at the alley's mouth, followed closely by a police car. Paramedics jumped out, rushing to the injured man. "Please step back," one directed, and Sofia moved but stayed close enough to watch. Her heart hammered as they quickly assessed him, checking his pulse, attending to the bleeding. They worked with practiced efficiency, strapping him onto a stretcher and securing an oxygen mask. A police officer approached the small cluster of bystanders. "Did anyone see what happened?" he asked, his gaze sweeping from the teenagers to Sofia. Sofia took a shaky breath and raised her hands slightly. I saw it," she said, her voice unsteady but resolute. "What's your name?" the officer asked, pulling out a small notebook. "Sofia Alvarez," she replied, her voice small and shaky. As the paramedics wheeled the injured man towards the ambulance, one called out, "We have his ID." Nathaniel Grayson, age 60. Officer Patel's eyebrows shot up. He recognized the name. Sofia did too. He was a millionaire, renowned for his charity work in the city. She'd heard his name on the news, but never imagined she'd meet him like this. Sofia felt a strange jolt. As they prepared to shut the ambulance doors, she squeezed his hand once more. His eyes opened a sliver, finding her through the haze of pain. Sofia managed a reassuring smile and a small wave. The ghost of a smile flitted across his bruised face before his eyes closed again. "We're heading to St. Mary's Hospital," a paramedic announced. In seconds, the ambulance was gone, its siren fading into the night. Officer Patel placed a hand on Sofia's shoulder. "We'll follow them to the hospital. Come on, I'll give you a ride. We need to call your parents and let them know you're safe." Sofia, remembering her worried mother, nodded. The adrenaline that had kept her brave was now fading, leaving her shaky and cold. In the police car, Officer Patel quietly reported the situation, then, as promised, called Lucia to explain. Sophia imagined her mother's frantic voice, then the wave of relief. She pressed her forehead to the cool window, watching the city lights streak by. "I just hope he'll be all right," she whispered softly. The officer nodded. "I think he's in good hands now, thanks to you." Sophia closed her eyes, letting the hum of the car soothe her. She had stepped up for a stranger, and nothing about this night had gone as expected. Her life, and perhaps Nathaniel Grayson's, would never be the same. Hours later, Sophia hunched on a hard plastic bench in the hospital waiting area, twisting the edge of a wool blanket draped over her shoulders. Detective Danielle Lee approached her gently. "They're taking care of him, Sophia," he said. "The doctors say he's stable, thanks to you." Relief and exhaustion washed over her. Just then, hurried footsteps echoed down the corridor. Lucia rushed in, her eyes wide with worry until they landed on her daughter. "Sophia, mania." Lucia cried, dropping to her knees and wrapping Sophia in a fierce embrace. "Mama," Sophia whispered, clinging tightly. Lucia pulled back, cupping Sophia's face. "When the police called, I feared the worst. Are you hurt?" "I'm okay," Sophia assured softly. Detective Lee stepped forward. "Mrs. Alvarez, I'm Detective Lee. You have a very brave daughter. She likely saved a man's life tonight." Lucia's trembling smile met Sophia's eyes. "Essa chased, Mama, you saved him." "He regained consciousness a short while ago," Detective Lee continued. "He's battered but stable. He asked to see the girl who helped him." Sophia's heart fluttered. "He wants to see me." Lucia, an arm around Sophia, followed a nurse down the hall to a private room. Inside, Nathaniel Grayson lay propped against pillows. Bandages wrapped his salt and pepper hair and bruises colored his face, yet his eyes were clear, lighting up gently when he saw her. "Hello," Nathaniel greeted, his voice raspy but kind. "Hi, Mr. Nathaniel," Sophia said softly. Nathaniel smiled, a shaky laugh escaping him. "It's good to see you again, Miss Sophia. The doctor told me how you stayed with me, how you kept me alive." Heat rushed to Sophia's cheeks. She wasn't used to such praise. "I just did what I could, sir. I couldn't just leave you there." Nathaniel looked at Lucia. "Your daughter is extraordinary." Lucia squeezed Sophia's shoulder. "She has a good heart." Nathaniel swallowed hard. "I don't know how to repay you." "You don't need to," Sophia quickly interjected. "I'm just happy you're all right." Nathaniel noticed Sophia fidgeting with a foil candy wrapper, folding and unfolding it. With a shy smile, she shaped it into a tiny heart and set it on his bedside table. "This is for you," she said. "It's silly, but I want you to have it." Nathaniel picked up the makeshift heart gingerly, fighting emotion. "It's not silly at all," he managed quietly. "I will treasure it." Before they left, Nathaniel asked, "May I know your full name?" "Sophia Alvarez," she answered. "And this is my mom, Lucia." "Sophia," he repeated with a warm nod. "I won't forget it. Thank you, Sophia Alvarez." As they reached the door, he added, "I'd like to see you again if that's all right. Perhaps when I'm released, I could thank you properly." Lucia gave a polite nod. "We'd be happy to visit." Sophia's heart felt strangely light after seeing Nathaniel safe. Detective Lee drove them home. As they neared their neighborhood, he spoke up gently. Sophia mentioned she thought she saw two men running away. One might have been limping. "We are looking into it." Lucia stiffened, holding Sophia closer. "Will you catch whoever did this?" she asked. "We'll do everything we can," Detective Lee promised. "We have some leads." Sophia shivered. The familiar streets felt colder now, the dim streetlights illuminating worn brick buildings. Back in their tiny apartment, Lucia noticed the dark smudges of blood on Sophia's clothing but said nothing, tucking her nearly asleep daughter into bed. "He could have died," Sophia murmured, thick with drowsy emotion. "I'm glad he didn't." Lucia's eyes welled. "Me too, Mika. You did a wonderful thing. I'm so very proud of you." Sophia closed her eyes as a tear escaped. "I was scared," she admitted. "I know," Lucia whispered, "but you were brave even when you were scared. That's what true bravery is." Sophia's hand went slack in Lucia's grasp as she finally succumbed to sleep. The crisis had passed, but the ripples of that night were only just beginning to transform their world. 2 days later, pale morning sunlight filtered into the Alvarez apartment. Sophia sat at the small kitchen table, carefully pouring chamomile tea for herself and their expected visitor. Nathaniel Grayson had called, true to his word. Lucia moved nervously around the cramped space, tidying. It wasn't every day a millionaire came calling. "Do you think he'll be comfortable here?" she murmured. Sophia offered a reassuring smile. "He's coming to see us, Mama, not the apartment." A firm knock sent them both standing. Lucia hastened to open it. Nathaniel Grayson stood there, pale but upright, leaning lightly on a cane. The bruises on his face had faded to a yellowish tinge. "Good morning," he greeted, smiling warmly. "May I come in?" Lucia stepped aside. The apartment's shabbiness was evident: peeling paint, a single hot plate, a sagging bed. Nathaniel seemed to take it in without judgment, turning immediately to Sophia. "Hello, Sophia," he said. Sophia grinned. "Oh, Mr. Nathaniel." He bent slightly, wincing, and gave her a brief, gentle hug. "It's good to see you again," he said sincerely. Lucia offered him their sturdier chair and tea. They sipped in shy silence until Nathaniel cleared his throat. I wanted to properly thank you both. This is a small gesture of my gratitude." He pulled a slim envelope from his jacket and held it out to Lucia. Inside was a handwritten note and a check. Lucia's breath caught when she saw the number. "Mr. Grayson, This is too much," she stammered, her hands shaking. "It's for Sophia's education and whatever you might need right now," Nathaniel said gently. "Please, I want to help." Tears sprang to Lucia's eyes. The amount would cover school supplies, new clothes, even a few months' rent. I don't know how to thank you," she whispered. "You already have by letting me be here," he replied, looking at Sophia. "Your mother tells me you're a good student when you can be in class." Sophia nodded bashfully. "I like school, especially reading. I want to be a teacher someday." Nathaniel's smile broadened. "That's a wonderful goal, and now you'll make sure to study hard and reach it. Consider it part of the promise you make when you accept my gift." Sophia nodded eagerly. "I will. Thank you, sir. I'll make you proud." Just then a sleek black sedan pulled up outside. Through the window, Sophia saw a tall, elegant woman step out and stride briskly toward their door. A second knock came. "That might be my colleague," Nathaniel said. Lucia opened the door to find Veronica Bloom impeccably dressed, her cool blue eyes sweeping over Lucia, then landing on Nathaniel. "There you are," Veronica said with evident relief, stepping inside without hesitation. "Pardon the intrusion. I'm Veronica Bloom, Nathaniel's business partner." "I was worried about him." Her gaze fell on Sophia and her smile tightened in surprise. "And this must be the young lady we've heard about at the office. You're famous over at Grayson Enterprises, you know." Sophia flushed. "I just helped," she said softly, feeling overwhelmed by Veronica's strong perfume and presence. Nathaniel interjected gently. "Veronica, meet Lucia Alvarez and her daughter Sophia. They are the ones who saved me." Veronica straightened and offered a brief, firm handshake to Lucia. "Pleasure to meet you. We have that 10:00 meeting, Nathaniel. Are you feeling well enough?" "I'm all right," Nathaniel said, reaching for his cane. "We were just finishing up." He turned to Lucia and Sophia, regret in his eyes. "Thank you for the tea and for welcoming me so kindly. I meant it when I said I'd like to see you again soon. Perhaps this weekend you could come to my home for lunch. I'd love to show you my garden, Sophia. I have a feeling you might enjoy them." Sophia's face lit up. "Really?" "We'd love to, Mr. Nathaniel." Lucia managed a gracious nod. "We would be happy to visit, and thank you again for everything." Nathaniel simply smiled. "It's the least I can do." He shook Lucia's hand, then gave Sophia an affectionate pat on the head, making her beam. Veronica, already holding the door, gave the Alvarezes a polite goodbye, though Sophia noticed her smile fade the instant she turned away. As soon as the door closed, Sophia ran to the window. She saw Veronica guiding Nathaniel into the sleek car, her hand hovering at his back as if to support him. But once Nathaniel was settled, Veronica's face changed. Sophia couldn't discern the expression, but something about the sudden stiffness in the woman's posture made the girl tilt her head in thought. Lucia was still staring at the check in her trembling hands. "Our lives might be changing, Sophia," she whispered, her voice filled with hope and disbelief. "All because of your kind heart." Sophia hugged her mother back, feeling safe and optimistic as she'd never felt before. Nathaniel's visit felt like a bright turning point. Inside, Veronica slid in beside Nathaniel. As the driver pulled away, Nathaniel exhaled, looking content. "They're good people," he murmured almost to himself. Veronica's red lips pressed thin. "I'm sure they are," she replied, an edge beneath her polite tone. She glanced back toward the rundown building. "You've always had a soft spot for charity cases, haven't you?" Nathaniel frowned slightly. "Veronica," she lifted a hand, apologetic. "Sorry, that came out harsher than I intended. I'm just concerned. You went through an ordeal and now you're spending your morning in a drafty tenement building playing Good Samaritan. I wouldn't want you overextending yourself." Nathaniel studied Veronica's face for a moment. They had worked together for years. She was efficient, intelligent, always protective of the company's interests and of him. He assumed her brusqueness was worry. "I appreciate your concern, but helping that family feels important to me." Veronica forced a smile, resting a hand on his arm. "Of course, I only want you to recover and be well. We still need you at the company, you know." He nodded, letting his head rest back against the seat. In truth, the morning had tired him a bit, but his heart felt lighter than it had in a long time. "We'll talk about the meeting on the way," he said, closing his eyes. Veronica fell silent, watching the city streets blur past. Her face was unreadable as the car carried them away. Saturday morning, Sophia stopped by Mrs. Hilda's corner shop. The kindly older shopkeeper lit up at the sight of her. "There's my little hero," Mrs. Hilda exclaimed, pulling Sophia into a hug. "I heard how you saved that man. I'm so proud of you, child." Sophia blushed. "I was just glad I found him in time." She glanced at the daisies. "Mr. Grayson invited us to his house for lunch today. I thought maybe I could bring him some flowers." Mrs. Hilda's eyes crinkled with delight. "Of course, dear." She plucked a handful of cheerful daisies, bound them with twine, and handed them over. "Here on the house. You give them to that gentleman and tell him they're from your grateful neighborhood." Soon after, a glossy black car arrived. As it rolled through the city into a wealthy district, mother and daughter stared wide-eyed, passing iron gates into an estate bursting with summer blooms around a grand brick house. Nathaniel greeted them at the door, standing tall without his cane now, his face breaking into a broad smile. "Welcome, come in, come in." Sophia shyly handed him the daisies. "These are for you from Mrs. Hilda." "How lovely," Nathaniel said, clearly touched, waving over a housekeeper. He then led them to a sunny back patio where lunch was set overlooking a lush garden. Nathaniel kept the conversation light, telling funny stories of growing up on a farm and how he built his business. He asked Sophia about school and her dreams, and she found herself opening up about her favorite books and the stories she wrote. After dessert, Nathaniel guided them through his garden, nomming all the flowers. He even clipped a perfect red rose and handed it to her. "For you," he said with a wink. "Every young lady should have a flower." Sophia held it to her nose, smiling so wide her cheeks ached. All afternoon, Lucia felt a sense of peace and possibility blossom. Under the warm sun and gentle laughter, the troubles of their everyday life felt distant. As dusk approached, Nathaniel's driver returned. Lucia thanked their host profusely. "I don't know how we will ever repay your kindness." "Nonsense," Nathaniel replied. "It's my pleasure entirely, and you two are welcome here any time." Sophia gave him a quick, earnest hug goodbye, then hurried to the car. She watched Nathaniel wave as they drove away, his figure growing smaller down the long drive. That night, however, the joy of the day was shattered. Sometime after midnight, Sophia awoke to a faint scraping noise. Then came another sound, the creak of their apartment window slowly opening. Sophia's heart seized. In the darkness, she could just make out a tall shape sliding into their living area. She shook her mother. "Mama," she whispered, voice quavering. "Someone's here." Lucia stirred, confusion on her face, then saw the figure looming by the window. Her blood ran cold. "Kenneth," she demanded in a shaky voice. In that instant, the intruder realized he'd been spotted. He lunged toward the open window to escape. As he did, a sliver of moonlight caught the metal gleam of a knife in his hand. Lucia gasped and threw an arm protectively in front of Sophia, but the man didn't attack. Instead, he leapt out onto the fire escape and vanished into the night. For a moment, all was silence, save for Sophia's ragged breathing. Then Lucia stumbled to turn on the lamp. Their tiny living space was in chaos. Drawers pulled out, belongings tossed everywhere. The window hung open, curtains fluttering. On the floor, something glinted. Sophia crept forward and picked it up, a knife, its tip pierced through a piece of paper. With trembling fingers, she unfolded the note and read the scrawled words, "Keep your mouth shut." Sophia's throat went dry. She handed the paper to her mother, who pressed her hand to her mouth in horror. Lucia grabbed the phone and dialed 911 with shaking fingers. Within minutes, a police siren whooped nearby. Detective Lee arrived alongside two officers. While the officers canvassed the area, Detective Lee carefully took the knife and note as evidence. Sophia, wrapped in a blanket, recounted in a small voice what happened. Lucia hovered next to her. "They didn't try to hurt you," Detective Lee clarified gently. "No," Sophia said. "He just ran when we saw him." Lucia shook her head in disbelief. "They broke in just to leave a threat." Detective Lee's jaw tightened. "To scare you," he said. "Likely the same people who attacked Mr. Grayson. They want to make sure you don't talk to the police." He rubbed a hand over his face, then knelt before Sophia, looking her in the eye. "Listen, I promise you we will find these men, but I'm not comfortable leaving you here tonight or any night until we do. It's not safe." As if on cue, footsteps pounded up the stairs. "Sophia, Lucia," a familiar voice called. Nathaniel appeared in the doorway, still dressed, but with worry etched on his face. He must have come the moment Detective Lee phoned him about the break-in. Behind him stood his driver, looking equally concerned. "Sophia, are you all right?" Nathaniel asked, his voice filled with genuine concern, a stark contrast to the shadowy threat that had just vanished into the night. The intrusion was a terrifying escalation, directly linked to Sophia's act of bravery. Will the millionaire's newfound connection be enough to shield Sophia and Lucia from these dangerous, unseen enemies? And what shocking secrets does Veronica Bloom hold, tying her to the attack on Nathaniel Grayson?